Hello, sister. I hope that your week has been going well and that you are increasingly turning to God whenever anything arises and also praising God for the blessings, for everything. This week, we're going to be taking a look at a subject that's near and dear to my heart, maybe yours too, that God is our strength. And this is about not being self-reliant. And I know that's not natural for us women. It's so crazy. A lot of us have been raised with, if it's going to be, it's up to me, and girl boss and take charge. And yet, does that work? Didn't for me. The truth is, we can't do anything in our own strength. I meet people almost every day who are trying to combat sin, like addictions, and they're trying to use their willpower, and that's not going to work. We need to be leaning upon God's strength for everything, for resisting temptation, for getting through the day. This world seems to be getting darker and darker, and the news sometimes is very upsetting. Sister, please don't try to use your own strength to deal with the world's darkness. The enemy is always trying to discourage us and distract us. And that happens especially if we're trying to lean on ourselves. So this week, we're going to be focusing on leaning on God, leaning on God's strength, and remembering to pray for his strength in those moments, especially when you feel conflicted or distracted or discouraged, or in some ways you just don't feel strong yourself. We need to be turning to God for his strength for all things, and especially when we find ourselves gritting our teeth and trying to take things on ourselves, trying to make them happen on our own. That's basically self-idolatry. We don't want to do that. We don't want to strain to try to make things happen on our own. We want to turn to God for his strength. I'm repeating myself because we all need to hear this again and again, and we need to check in. Check in with the Holy Spirit. Be honest with yourself and the Holy Spirit. Am I trying to do this in my own strength? Am I trying to struggle against something using my self-reliance? And if so, we need to stop and turn to God. Turn to God and pray for him to give you the strength and to resist temptation. So let's go ahead and take a look at this week's devotional, God is Our Strength. This is week 45 of the 52 weeks we're going through, 52 of God's attributes. Of course, there are so many more than 52. And studying these attributes every week together helps us to draw near to God, to learn who he is, to learn to rely on him. And as the point of this devotional series is to learn to trust him. And we begin with Psalm 27, verse 1. The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? For women who carry heavy burdens, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, knowing that God is our strength is a lifeline. We don't have to rely on our own strength alone. In fact, we can't rely upon our own strength because we're not strong enough to carry ourselves through the trials of life. Only God can do that. God himself is our strength. We need to set down our burdens before the Lord and pray fervently for his strength to carry us through. We need to pray for God to give us endurance and perseverance, even in the toughest circumstances. Going through challenges is exhausting and further depletes our human strength. The prophet Isaiah proclaimed that God gives strength to the weary, and those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. When Paul was imprisoned, he proclaimed, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. That's in Philippians 4, verse 13. In our own strength, we are frail, weak, and limited. But in God's strength, we can carry out his will, even if it seems like everything's against us. God will supply you with the might and strength that you need. Dear sister, if you're going through a challenging time, please don't try to fix everything in your own strength. Draw near to God. Tell him everything that's in your heart and plead for his help and strength. Sometimes God removes the burden in his own way and timing, and sometimes he allows us to go through the suffering. Always he is near and giving his strength to endure. And our reflection question for this week is, in what areas of your life do you need to lay down self-reliance and lean more fully on the strength that comes only from the Lord? Sister, this is such a pivotal question. This is such an important attribute to really grasp, because we as women, especially if we've been betrayed, abandoned, traumatized in any way, we might have learned that we can't trust anyone, and we may have become overly dependent on self-reliance. Now, there's some things, of course, you've got to get off the couch and you've got to earn an income usually, and you've got to fix your meals and eat them. There's things we need to do, but we're powered by God's strength, not our own strength, especially in those times where we're going through a trial. Perhaps you're going through one right now. And if so, my heart goes out to you. And this is a reminder that you can trust God. Yes, people may have disappointed you or betrayed you or abused you. I'm so sorry if that happened. God won't do those things. He won't betray you. He won't disappoint you. And he certainly won't abuse you. Now, there could have been times when you said prayers and it seemed like they weren't answered. They weren't answered in your timing or in your way. But that's not God betraying us, sister. That is God's will being enacted. And when we trust God's will, even if it leads to something that we didn't prefer, we can often look back on what happened and see why it had to be that way. And even if we can't understand it, it's about trusting the supreme creator. It's about trusting your creator, the one that made you, that knitted you in your mother's womb, the one who is the director of all things, the one who made all things and all people. When we can remember that we are God's creations, we are not the creator. We're not co-creators. We don't give God permission or direction into creating. God's will is supreme. And the more we can really trust that God's will is for the best, the more we can let go of this pattern of self-reliance. Self-reliance is stressful. It can be time-consuming. It definitely can lead you on the wrong path. So we want to be God-reliant. And that means in your moments where you're feeling anxious or afraid, that you turn to God in fervent prayer. Sometimes the prayer may be, God, help me, help me. It could just be a simple prayer like that. Sometimes it involves pouring your heart out to him, but always it means turning to him instead of to your own self. As we've been learning every week, God is wise, he is strong, and he will give us comfort. But we do need to ask, we need to pray for his help. And he will give us comfort. He will give us comfort. We turn to God in prayer and we make our petitions known, what it is we need, but we certainly don't hand God a script and say, here's how I want you to enact this or make my needs happen. We don't do that. God is in charge, not us. And the more that we can writing down your answered prayers is so helpful to review and to see that God really does hear your prayers, and he really does answer them in his way, his will, and his timing. So I want to thank you so much for being with me this week. I pray that this week you will be extra observant of yourself during those moments when you are trying to lean on your own strength, trying to make something happen, trying to be self-reliant. And I pray in those moments that you will catch yourself and you will turn to God and pray for his strength to carry you. Please do write down these prayers that you make, and please do write down the answers to the prayers that come to you. It will be a really helpful resource for you going forward. I look forward to next week's devotional. We'll be taking a look at God is our deliverer. And that's a topic that's very important. Also, all these topics, all these attributes are equally important. So I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. In the meantime, I'll be praying for you. And thanks so much for joining with me. God bless you.